What's up, guys? I want to start off by saying I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and got to spend lots of good quality time with your family, your friends, all your loved ones, the people that mean the most to you. I was going to try to put out a video Christmas Day, but things, as you can imagine, we're a little chaotic with 4 kids running around trying to open their gifts, having places to be, so it just didn't work out that way. But in this video, I do want to talk about the 24 valve Cummins and the fresh starter rebuild that we did on it over the weekend. So welcome back to another video on Pure Panorama. If you guys missed the upload on Christmas Eve, that was the upload with the starter rebuild in it. I highly recommend going back and watching that video and then popping back over to this video so that you can hear the updates as far as how the truck is handling the new starter contacts and solenoid or plunger, whatever you want to refer to it as. And then you guys will have more of an understanding as to what I'm saying in this video. If you all remember correctly, and I said it in the last video with the starter rebuild, the truck was having some slow cranking troubles where it would just kind of bog down and sounded like the batteries were about dead, and we knew that they weren't because they were just replaced, so they are pretty fresh. And the charging system is working because we had all that stuff tested just to be sure and double check it. But we were still getting a slow cranking issue where the truck would just kind of wah before it would want to take off and fire up. So I knew that it had to be something with the starter, and I was basically thinking that whatever was going on with the starter was probably caused due to the fuel leak we had from our stock fuel filter housing that comes on these 24 valve Cummins trucks. Those stock fuel filter housings, as all of us know, are just not the greatest of designs with the plastic cap and the little rubber O-ring in the cap to kind of seal it up from leaking. They always usually develop a leak and have some type of problem to them. So what we ended up doing was we did away with it. We deleted that stock fuel filter housing. Now, many guys will delete that when they install their aftermarket lift pump, their fass, or their air dog, and they'll run their fuel line straight up to the VP44 injection pump. Whereas I can't do that because I still utilize that stock fuel filter location and use that filter for filtration of my fuel because I have the older Fast Platinum 150 lift pump on the truck. I don't have a newer Fast Titanium or Air Dog or whatever on the truck, so I only have the one water separator filter on my lift pump. Therefore, I need that fuel filter to filter the fuel before it goes into the injection pump, into the injector, so on and so forth. That is why my fuel lines still run through there, and I didn't delete the fuel filter housing altogether. But that's getting off on a tangent and not staying on subject with this video. I just had to say that to say that I believe our problems with the starter all began due to the fuel leaks we always kept getting from that stock fuel filter housing. But since we put that 12 valve fuel filter conversion on the 24 valve, everything has been buttoned up real nice. We checked all of our connections, our injection lines, our fuel return lines, tightened everything down. Everything is good, and our fuel pressure is maintaining from 15 to 17 psi. Even at wide open throttle, it doesn't really dip below 15. So that's where I believe things started to go wrong with the starter, and it started to give the truck this slow cranking problem whenever we would try and fire the truck up. Well, we finally got it out. I ordered in parts from Genos Garage. Our friends over there got those parts up to me really quickly. 2 new contacts for the starter and a new plunger, and we pulled it all apart right here on the bench. Put it all back together, cleaned everything down. There was so much brush material in there, probably from oil and fuel that had run down in there, and then collecting the brush material, making it stick, dirt, grime, all that crap in there, just making it so it could not get a good connection or even function properly. Maybe making things stick, the plunger stick. Who knows what was going on with it, but it definitely was not working, so that had to be pulled off and cleaned up or replaced. Now, the most cost-efficient way to go about doing anything with the starter on your truck is to just rebuild it. That is the most cost efficient and probably the best thing you can do for it so that you don't run into trouble and problems with it again down the road. If you go to your local parts store and you pick up a starter, I hear some pretty bad stories about those starters due to the quality of them being poor, and they usually will flake out and start to give you trouble again in the near future after you install them. If you do want to go down the road of just replacing the starter, it's best to go with an OEM and then put that on your truck. If you don't want to just rebuild it and pull it all apart, if that's not your cup of tea, you just want to replace it and be done with it, get an OEM one and do yourself the favor. They are going to run you a little bit more money, but you won't have to touch it again for a long time. If you're like me though, and you like to save some money and still get yourself basically a brand new starter, take the extra time to just separate everything, pull it apart, clean it all down with some brake clean, and then throw in the new contacts. From start to finish, if I wasn't filming and trying to get shots of everything for you to put the video together, it would have taken me about 25 minutes to pull the starter out of the truck, probably another 30 minutes to clean it all down, replace the contacts and the plunger, and another 25 to put it back in. So you're looking probably like an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes to really pull that thing out, get it all cleaned up, get your parts replaced in it, put it back, and be good to go. It's really not that much longer to do it that way than it is to just pull out the old one and put in a new one, and you're gonna save so much more money. You're talking $60 in parts to rebuild it versus almost $300 to buy a new starter. So you guys, you can do the math there and see why it is so much more cost effective to rebuild, and you're still walking away with basically a brand new starter with all new contacts in it. But since installing that back on the truck, I gotta tell you that our slow cranking issue is gone. The truck fires up like it's brand new, like it always did in the past, like it should fire up. And the other thing that it cleared up and fixed, and this is the most important thing that I want to touch on in this video because there was some confusion in a video that I put out a couple weeks ago, but the most important thing that the fresh starter rebuild did for the 24 valve Cummins was got rid of our hard starts while the truck was warm up to operating temperature. You guys, we talked about this in a video just 2 weeks ago. It was a couple videos back, how the truck was having trouble starting up while it was warm, and we were gonna install a relay in the wiring harness of the Fass Platinum 150 so that when the starter was engaged, the Fass wouldn't want to kick on and send fuel up to the VP44 because I thought we were getting too much fuel pressure at the injection pump while the truck was warm, and it was causing it to hard start and not want to start up. A lot of you guys swear up and down that I have a bad VP44 injection pump, and that's fine. That might be the only thing that you know. You might just see these horror stories or read this stuff on the forums and hear this stuff and just automatically think, well, if something's going on with the truck and it is fuel related, it has to be a bad VP44. And that's fine. You guys might not know anymore. You might not know any better to look in other areas and try to trace down other problems that could be causing that issue. So a lot of you were trying to tell me that I was wrong, that there couldn't be anything other than a bad VP44 and my injection pump was going out, that I should have been saving money for an injection pump since a year ago and all this other crap. But when things like that go on with the truck, there's always steps to take and follow in order to diagnose and try to troubleshoot it to really figure out what's going on. You don't always have to assume that the VP44 is going out. I had plenty of signs and symptoms that told me otherwise, that it probably wasn't the VP44, although there were signs and symptoms that it could have been the VP44. So that's why in that video I said I don't feel comfortable saying that the VP44 in my truck is going bad because I truly did not feel like it was. The VP44 injection pump on my 24 valve was replaced not long before I bought the truck with a reman injection pump. For anyone who doesn't know, all the remanufactured pumps are rebuilt with all the upgraded parts, like the diaphragm and the electronics and all that are all upgraded to help do away with a lot of the common problems that the older VP44s had. So obviously over the years, people started to figure out what was going on with them and started to come up with other things that they could rebuild them with to try and help make them a little bit more durable and to make them last longer so they weren't so picky and didn't want to flake out so quickly. I'm not saying that they are bulletproof after they are remanufactured and have upgraded parts in them, because they are not bulletproof at all. It's a long shot to say that they are bulletproof. If you're not supplying them with enough fuel pressure, then obviously they are going to crap out, whether they are upgraded with new parts or not. They absolutely need to have the right amount of fuel pressure to them to keep them lubricated and cooled properly in order for them to live a longer, healthier life. But as for my truck, and why I just did not think that it was the VP44, is because I've never had any trouble with the truck as far as how it runs. It's never given me any reason to believe that the VP44 was on its way out. There was one little time back last winter where I thought maybe something was going on with the VP44, and I said it in a video, and some of you guys remember that. And that's my bad. I probably shouldn't have brought that up and said it in a video, but I was kind of freaking out a little bit, so I hope you can understand why I mentioned it or why I said it. So when we were having this little hard start, when the truck was up to operating temperature, I truly just thought that it was because we were getting too much fuel pressure to the VP44 and the pintle wasn't able to operate properly and distribute fuel to the cylinders upon trying to fire the truck. So that's what happens with the aftermarket lift pumps. But since rebuilding the starter with the new contacts and the plunger and putting that thing back in, I've run the truck all week now and not had one issue with starting the truck up. We've run it and gone into stores. We've been to my family's house on Christmas, and we've let the truck sit for periods of time ranging from 15 minutes all the way up to 2-3 hours. And anytime we come back out to the truck and hop in it and I go to start it up, it fires right up lickety split, just like it always did and like it should. And our little hard start issue while the truck is warm has disappeared. So it looks like the whole time the culprit for that problem was actually the starter. It wasn't anything to do with the fueling. I think it was just a fluke that when I pulled the fuse out of the fass, it fired right up. And I think the reason it did that was because the fass obviously wasn't plugged in, so it wasn't trying to run another accessory with the grid heater and the blower motor and the lights and all that crap and still try and kick the starter over to start the truck. It had one less thing to try and power up and run. So there was less of a load on the charging system and the batteries, and it helped the truck to just fire up quicker. And just so you guys can see, I've got some clips of me shutting the truck off and then coming back out a little while later and starting it up, and you can see that she fires right up. So to the guys who wanted me so badly to spend money on an injection pump, or anybody who wanted to see an injection pump install video, I apologize, but I tried to say and tell you guys that I didn't feel that it was the injection pump causing that issue. I thought that it was something different, and it turned out that I was even wrong about that, because the whole time it ended up being the starter. I think we might still put that relay in the fass though, just to make sure that we aren't getting any fuel pressure at the injection pump when we start the truck. I just don't see why that would hurt to do that, so I think we might still do that maybe in an upcoming video. We'll see. I'm gonna think on that a little bit more, but as for now, everything is good with the truck. She fires right up, she's running beautiful, and there's some things that I'm starting to plan for it, so you guys need to stick around, stay tuned, and see what is coming for the 0124 valve Cummins here after we get past the new year, because we are starting to make a little list of parts and we are going to start getting them ordered from a few different places. That's enough out of me though. This video was way longer than I wanted it to be. I just wanted to give you a little update, explain all that, and tell you how the starter actually fixed everything with the truck, our slow cranking issue and our hard starts while the truck was warm. Do me that favor and hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, become a family member. Don't forget to check out all my links down in the video description for tools and parts that I use on the 24 valve or here in the garage. I took the time to make those links for your convenience, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.